So Donald Trump goes on Hannity on Fox News and talks tough on foreign policy. But can he back up his words? Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. So Donald Trump, yes, if ever you wanted to see how a narcissistic, self-centered, male lacking self-confidence behaves, you can see it in Donald Trump. Trump went on Hannity, did a bunch of interviews with him down in Mar-a-Lago, and I thought it was worth reviewing at least this part of one of them, where he talked about foreign policy, because he said some things that I think are a little bit worth fact-checking. Let's check it out.
All right, now here is part two of my interview with former President Trump at Mar-a-Lago. We discuss Biden's weakness on the world stage and the danger and the alliance between China and Russia and how real it is. Take a look. I will tell you, in my view, that this is worse and far worse. Let's look at, for example, President Xi. Let's look at Vladimir Putin. They meet, they discuss their great friendship and how they have an opportunity that the world has not seen in 100 years. China brokers a deal with Iran and Saudi Arabia. They're about to broker another deal with Saudi Arabia and Syria. Then we watched the China spy balloon incident to go down over the skies of Alaska, down the west coast of Canada, Idaho, over our missile silos in Montana, Missouri, Kansas, Kentucky, out the Carolinas. Then we shoot it down. Then we see Russia take down one of our drones. I would argue there is emerging in real time in this world as we speak a new axis of evil, and it is ambition, territorial ambition. We see it, for example, Belarus is supposed to now be taking on nuclear weapons from Putin. Okay, they're aligned. How far does his territorial ambitions go?
That'll be next, by the way.
Okay,
nuclear weapons, that'll be next.
China, Russia, Iran, the Saudis have left the coalition that you had put together.
Okay, I wanted to play this intro so you can kind of see what they say on Fox News, My attitude is that we should be aware of what our opponents are saying. And truth be told, a lot of the things that he threw out there are kind of hard to argue with. I mean, there are a lot of concerns out there. It is a dangerous world out there. And frankly, that's part of the reason I'm glad that we have somebody who's got a firm hand like Joe Biden in charge of the White House. But there's one comment that he made there that I just can't let sit. And it's his comments that Trump somehow put together the coalition with the Saudis. Here is a release from the State Department, specifically talking about our relationship with the Saudis, which says, quote, very first line, for over 70 years, the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have enjoyed a strong relationship based upon mutual respect and common interests. The U.S. legation opened in Jeddah in 1942. Well, I gotta tell you, I'm pretty sure Donald Trump wasn't president in 1942. I don't think he was president 70 years ago. So him putting together this coalition, not so much. Well, let's keep watching.
And then you have your buddy Little Rocket Man back in action. Now that, to me, would be a powerful axis of evil. Why is that happening? And what would you have done with the balloon? And what would you have done if Putin took down one of your drones?
I wouldn't have done anything with the balloon because it wouldn't have happened under me.
Okay, this is where things get interesting, because we can see how Trump responds to these things and his questionable relationship with facts. He says that the balloon wouldn't have happened if he were president. And yet we now know that, in fact, at least 3 Chinese spy balloons flew over the U.S. during the Trump presidency. This is, of course, according to Bloomberg, that liberal rag. And then we've got another liberal source here, Forbes, pointing out that Trump officials admitted that the spy balloons from China flew over the U.S. during the Trump administration. So much for it not happening during his administration. But let's keep watching.
It wouldn't happen. They wouldn't have sent the balloon. This is a big balloon. This is a balloon where you can see it from,
it's like 3 buses.
75,000 feet away. People are looking, but it's strange. You see it.
And yet, his administration did nothing about the 3 that flew over the United States when he was in office. Let's keep watching.
Up there.
We only found out because of a guy in Montana.
They wouldn't have done it. I'm just telling you. Just like Putin would have never gone into Ukraine. I used to talk to him about it. I said, better not do it. Better not do it. And he wouldn't have done it. We had a very friendly conversation about it. I said, hey, Vladimir, you and I get along good. You can't go into Ukraine.
Why you say it with such conviction? Why, if you were president, would they not have done this?
Because he knew not to mess around with me.
Did they fear you?
I don't want to say that. You know why? Because you'd say, oh, I don't like people to say, oh, they fear me like a schmuck. I don't want to say it. But did they fear me? I suspect they did.
Okay. Interestingly enough, I have to differ from his analysis there. And I love this column here from CNN where it says that Trump and Putin, the pictures tell the story. And notice the headline here, that Moscow was delighted by the Trump-Putin summit. And I'm sure they were. Let's take a look at some of these pictures here. And you tell me who is afraid of whom. Ah, yes. Look at Trump there, looking very firmly in command of his relationship with Putin. Oh, yes. And Trump, he's really showing Putin. You can see how scared Putin is of him. There, too. Oh, my God. Yes. Putin really, he didn't want to stand up to Trump. And, oh, check out the handshake there. Oh, my gosh. You know, man to man, Putin was clearly scared of Trump. So if you believe that Donald Trump was willing to stand up to Putin, explain those pictures to me. Let's keep watching.
That's when Putin said, boy, you're killing me. And then they go, and I gave them javelins, by the way. You know the javelins that wiped out all the tanks? Obama gave them sheets, and I gave them javelins.
Ah, yes. Do we really need to revisit the relationship between Trump and funding aid for Ukraine, especially given the fact that he was impeached over it? But I guess we can't resist since he brought it up. I mean, from the very beginning of his campaign, the Trump campaign gutted the Republicans' anti-Russia stance on Ukraine. He was trying to accommodate Putin even before he was in office, while he was still running in 2016. And then we have Trump holding up Ukraine military aid meant to confront Russia, and that he was seriously considering blocking $250 million in military aid to Ukraine, something he actually went forward and did in terms of blocking aid to Ukraine, which led to Ukrainian lives being lost. I mean, these are not examples of somebody who is helping Ukraine. I'd be willing to bet right now that Volodymyr Zelensky is very happy to have Joe Biden in the White House rather than Donald Trump. Let's keep watching.
I was the one that gave him javelins. Those javelins knocked out all the tanks. But Putin said to me, man, you're killing me, especially about Nord Stream, because that was the... And I stopped it. It was stopped cold. And I told other countries, if you go into the Nord Stream deal, you're not going to do any business with the United States of America, meaning...
Boy, the lies just never end. It makes you wonder if he actually believes this stuff. I mean, Trump actually vetoed the sanctions that would have delayed the completion of Nord Stream 2. So how can he say he stopped it? He basically made it so it could go on forward. Let's keep watching.
Rip us off on trade because most of them have ripped us off. I made a lot of great trade deals. I changed a lot of those deals where it was a bad deal for us. Now it's a good, like USMCA with...
Okay, let's just revisit very quickly the whole USMCA, which Trump talks about as being such a great deal that he was able to pull off. Well, according to USA Today, not exactly a liberal rag as far as I'm concerned, it says, NAFTA light. Trump and Democrats' trade deal is similar to pact president mocked as, quote, worst ever. The USMCA was basically just an updating of NAFTA. He didn't change anything. There were some provisions added in to deal with things that didn't exist back in the 1990s when NAFTA went into effect. Things like dealing with electronic issues and intellectual property and that type of thing. Those things didn't exist back when NAFTA was originally done. But other than that, it was just NAFTA. But let's keep watching.
NATO. I got rid of NATO and built USMCA. I made a great...
Wait, did he say he got rid of NATO? I'm pretty sure NATO still exists. And I'm pretty sure President Biden has done a good job of kind of marshaling NATO to support Ukraine. Well, let's keep watching.
Trade deal with China.
Yeah.
Our farmers are, to this day, they've made tremendous money because of the deal, but because...
That farmers made tremendous money because of his trade deal with China. Well, ironically, Trump's not entirely wrong on that point, just not in the way that he said it. The trade deal with China was so bad for the farmers that basically the government had to subsidize them at a level far beyond what had ever been done. Talk about corporate welfare. And that was all because of the fact that he had such a bad deal. So that farmers were probably pretty happy to be getting these checks from the federal government. But was that really good policy? Was that really good for America? What's more is it's been the Biden administration that's really been tough on China. After all, they're the ones who have dealt with some of the tech issues where China has been really hurting us. And that's really something much more valuable than the posturing that Trump used to engage in. But let's keep watching.
To COVID, I don't even talk about that deal because that overrode everything. But when you look at what I did, and a lot of it's common sense, Sean. A lot of people say, are you a conservative? Are you this? I said, I'm a person, I'm conservative, but I'm a person with a lot of common sense. And I also get things done. Putin would have never gone in. Xi would never have gone. And, we don't know yet. But looks like he's getting ready to do something with Taiwan. It wasn't even discussed. Was this even discussed when I was president?
Is there really any?
Okay, Taiwan, yes. In fact, the Trump administration caused some serious problems in Taiwan. Right before they left office, Trump and his Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, actually basically stuck their finger in the eye of the Chinese in an effort to enrage them and embarrass them just before Biden was coming into office. Because what they wanted to do is to create all kinds of chaos so they could say, hey, look at what happened when we left office, except for the fact that they caused the problem. But again, with Trump, part of the reason that things seem to be going smoothly with some of these autocratic powers is because of the fact that they knew they could play him. I mean, let me just read you this paragraph from this article about how Trump basically threw Taiwan under the bus. It has to do with the fact that Trump, being ignorant as he always was, took a call from the Taiwanese leader congratulating him. Something that, again, would stick in the eye of the Chinese. Trump then bent over backwards to try to make amends with the Chinese. And as this article points out, Trump's February 2017 phone call with Xi marked the beginning of a dynamic between the two leaders, one that would shape U.S.-China engagement significantly over the next 3 years. Xi learned that if he really wanted Trump to do something, all he had to do was ask him for a personal favor. Xi called on these favors liberally, using them to keep Trump out of several issues China deemed sensitive and playing Trump against his own government. And this is typical for Trump. I mean, remember how Rocket Man, who was referred to earlier, Kim Jong-un, basically played Trump by appealing to his ego. He talked about the beautiful relationship that they had, while basically Kim Jong-un was getting everything he wanted. And that's the essence of how Trump behaved while in office, which is he allowed his male ego and his ignorance to drive foreign policy, something that these autocratic leaders around the world knew all too well how to take advantage of. And take advantage of it they did. And what's almost funny to watch is how he now tries to make excuses for the performance of his administration on foreign policy. Because guess what? When you compare it with what Joe Biden's done, the Trump administration is looking pretty thin. Well, if you want to see another video where we talk about all of Fox News' lies about President Biden's foreign policy, check out this video over here. I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.